But yeah, man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. And
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
you bet. And I want to begin our conversation with what we've lived through for the last 3.5 years, getting through COVID. How did you survive the pandemic, and how has it changed you now that everything's opening up and we've come out of it?
Gotcha. Yeah, actually, COVID has been a big change for us because we transitioned into marketing from home services. I was in home services and then oil field services for the better part of 25 years. Um, and transitioned to marketing in 2018. So we were right at the cusp of wanting to open an office and go the whole brick and mortar route. And then COVID came around and we went, whoa, maybe we don't want to get around people. And our business blew up because
Yeah.
everybody needed to go online. Come March 2020, if you didn't have a strong online presence, your business was tanking. If you can imagine, business brokers were going wild because older businesses were trying to exit. People weren't ready to pivot. So we ended up in the right space at the right time, having to do a lot of website updates and rebuilds, and search engine optimization was a big deal because everybody was clamoring for new business that they weren't getting that walk-in traffic anymore. So that's from a business standpoint, that was that was kind of our catalyst for growth. From a personal standpoint, at the same time when we started our marketing agency, my wife Amy, who's our CEO, she's our 51% owner. Her and I both got saber. What is saber? Got sober on the same day
Yeah.
on April 1st in 2018, and have been sober together ever since. And that was definitely a blessing for us to be sober before COVID came around,
Yeah.
because um, we were pretty severe in our addiction in alcohol, and I don't know that we would have made it through if all we had as an option was to sit around and day drink again.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. The clarity that you get when that happens too. It's yeah, yeah, there's so many things that are good. So I want to hone in on exactly what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. One of the kids looks up and asks you, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Okay. Um, the way I tell people is I say, have you ever gone to Google and you searched for something you wanted, something you needed, something you wanted to buy, and the perfect ad or the perfect website uh, popped up for you, and it answered all your questions, and it was almost like magic, where you found the perfect match to solve your problem. That's what we do online. We help businesses uh, clarify what they're saying, get their story straight, so that they speak directly to their ideal customer. And so their ideal customer finds the perfect solution for their problem, because that's what people are looking for, right? They're always looking to solve their problems. That's really what marketing is matching up problem with correct solution and communicating that in a clear way.
It's almost like being really good at putting together puzzles.
Yes, without a doubt. There's so
So
many moving pieces, but they all together make one cohesive picture, which is that message that a brand is trying to share.
I guess it's kind of like those paintings in the 90s where you used to pull back and you could see what was in it. Were you ever good
Mhm.
at that?
No, I was never any good at it, but I know. Oh, yeah, the little, like, the flip book when you got really
Yeah.
close,
And
and
then you come
oh
back.
yeah,
See,
uh-huh.
I always got it. And someone told me at one point, just relax. 100, all you need to think of is relaxing your retinas. And I remember
Hmm.
I just did that and it like everything came to life. Like I could never do it. I don't know who told me to do that, but it was an epiphany and I saw everything from there. Got the books and got into it. So it was cool for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I remember my grandmother had one of those as a coffee table book.
Yeah.
And I remember being 10, 11, 12 years old, sitting around for an hour or two, just flipping the page and seeing what popped up off of it next. The human body is just a fascinating organism.
Absolutely. So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A meteorologist.
Oh,
So
cool.
I obviously went a completely different route. But I loved weather. I loved talking to people. I back then I was also the kid that took everything apart. My parents would wake up and I'd have ripped apart my alarm clock and put it back together. Of course, it didn't work because it was in
Right.
third grade, but I tried. I gave it a good old college try. But weather fascinated me back then. I thought I wanted to be a weatherman. Wasn't long after that I thought I wanted to be an actor. Then I thought I wanted to be a musician, which nobody ever wants to be that full time. Not really. What you want to do is be famous, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to be a working musician and broke. I found that out as an adult. But um, yeah. I've been the guy that's worn just about every hat through my career. I mean, I've uh, I've owned two paint contracting companies. I taught skydiving professionally on the weekends in the middle of all that. Um, I'm the guy that takes my hobbies and turns them into work, turns them into money making endeavors or attempts at money making endeavors because there's been plenty that I didn't make any money with. So
Yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, that's the thing. You got to do what you love for sure.
yeah.
So who's been a hero for you in your life?
Oh wow. Well, the first is my namesake. My grandfather Joseph John, was the most formative man in my life. He was a hero. He before he passed when I was 26. And he was the glue that held our family together. He taught me about humility. He taught me about caring for others and putting other people first. Um, and how being outbound with service actually benefits me, that it's actually it's a selfish act for me to care for other people. That was really important to me because I didn't have the best of childhoods. He was a little broken and disjointed, and without him I don't think I would have caught some of those lessons. um if you were to say today, Gary Vaynerchuk, his his happiness and goodness first before business makes him very formative in business for me. It helps me to put people before the bottom line. That's not a default place. You know, I'm a if the numbers aren't working, then usually that would be my default go to get wound up about. But when treating people like humans, it makes a world of difference, and you can kind of overcome just about anything if you treat people with grace and dignity and respect. So,
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now, who would it be?
oh wow, anybody alive on the planet right now? Well, actually, I don't know his name because I just caught about 30 minutes of the Republican National prime like the debates
Yeah,
last night.
sure.
But the youngest Republican candidate right now, he's like 38. Is a tech CEO. He had a lot of really interesting things to say. So just from that conversation, he'd be first on my list because I want to dig in more to what he's about, his platform. I'm not a registered Republican, but he really got my attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
S-
I'm go ahead.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. And there are a lot of candidates that come up on stage that put things out there that are just too logical for most people. And it's not grimy enough to be in the whole major
Yeah,
political realm.
exactly.
Man, I'm not advocating this, but there's a part of me that just really wants everyone to stay home during a major election. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You guys that they historically do so much for themselves and don't think about us. Maybe it's
Hmm.
time that we think about us because they can't do it for us.
100%. Yeah, we need different blood. The way that politics happens in this country has degraded a lot. You can't debate anymore anything. You know, Joe, you and I probably have lots of different opinions
Sure.
about lots of different things. And there was a time where we could discuss that and agree to disagree. We have a hard time with that today.
We
That's
yeah, we've entered a dangerous realm of landmines and rhetoric that's just simply dangerous. I do remember that too. I mean, years ago in the 90s, I keep bringing it up where I would have a vastly different political stance, but it was fine. And I think the thing that's positive about podcasting, the modern advent of it, is that it is a very therapeutic avenue for different contrasting people to have civil conversations it is modern therapy, and it is a way for us to kind of heal the divisiveness that we all are going through in this country
Definitely.
specifically. So it's a good thing. Um, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Just breathe.
That's good.
Everything, when you're in crisis, everything seems like a crisis. It seems like the world's going to end. But here I am. I'm 46 years old and I've been through lots of crises in my life. And if it didn't kill me, I'm going to be okay. Life might look different on the other side, but I'm still going to keep marching on. So when I'm in the middle of something stressful or anxious, um, the very first thing I have to do is stop and just breathe. I actually I hired a coach last year, a mindset coach that works internally with our company, but we did some added work on top of that. And it was all breath work and meditation and bringing yourself back to center before moving on to the next task. And those skills have been wonderful for keeping me balanced and moving forward rather than becoming reactionary to situations, because the world is volatile. It's always
Yeah.
volatile.
Yeah.
So
I was reading a book at one point. I didn't finish it, about breath and what it does, and if you breathe right, and how it oxygenates and filters through your body in a very specific way. I do jazz radio here in Kansas City. It's one of my bread and
mhm.
butters. And one of the titans in all of jazz, especially here, is Bobby Watson. He led the University of Missouri Kansas City jazz program. But I was listening to an interview, and it was like his farewell. And I was lucky enough to be able to interview him as well. But I remember when he was on the radio, someone said, "What do you have any final thought before we get off the air?" And it was out of left field, and he was like, "Drink water, drink plenty of water. Whatever you do, wherever you're at, just drink water." And I thought it was such a non sequitur, just such an out of an ordinary thing, but it's so true. Like, they
Yeah.
always tell us to do it. We're made of water. Most of the things, the calamities that can be minor to medium, have something to do with hydration. And it was just such a
Hmm.
great thing to say. And I think he was saying it to horn players, because when horn players are up there, they're exerting a lot of energy, they're sweating, they need to stay hydrated. But I think it's
Uh-huh.
kind of like either an antidote or a metaphor for all the rest of us too. So it's
Wow. Yeah.
interesting.
The basics are where it's at. We try to get
Yeah,
cute with stuff, man,
I know.
but there's wisdom in that old stuff. You know, your grandmother, your grandfather would tell you, just settle down,
Yep.
honey, and keep moving at your pace. It's okay. Just keep moving.
That's it. That's it.
So,
So, what is your daily motivation? Every day you wake up, you have a job to do, you have a life to live. What is your motivation? What makes you who you are?
well, from a selfish point of view, of course, I get satisfaction from, I'm a task guy. So I get satisfaction from ticking off that task box that makes me feel accomplished. But my major motivation, of course, is my family. My wife is my partner in everything, not just in business. Um, uh, my children, we have 5 kids between us and 3 grandkids, and we want we want security and financial literacy in our family. So my wife and I, we are the entrepreneurs. The rest of our family is just like most of Middle America. That they're not entrepreneurial. They're more kind of traditional when it comes to work and business, and that's wonderful. But we're trying to break that. We're trying to change that for our family tree, and so far we're having a blast doing it. And the thing about being in business is that our goal is to stay in business. Our goal isn't to hit some major revenue number and then it's done and over with. It's just to play the game every day. We absolutely enjoy what we do, so that's kind of motivation in and of itself.
What's been one of your best success stories so far?
Well, my sobriety on a personal note, being able to say that I haven't a drink hasn't passed my lips in 5.5 years. That's a big one. In a professional capacity, no longer using this to earn money for my family, rather using this right here, what's between these ears, and the experience that I've gained, um, and waking up, being vertical every day, because there are lots of times in my life where I shouldn't have been. So I count myself very fortunate and blessed to just wake up and see the sunrise every day.
So if we get off the phone, a time machine pulls up in front of your house, the DeLorean skids to a stop, and you could go anywhere in history and see an event happen in human history, where are you going? What would you love to have seen happen?
Within my lifetime, I'd actually like to see the Berlin Wall fall.
Yeah,
Um, my dad was stationed. We were stationed in West Germany when it was West Germany
yeah,
when I was a
yeah,
kid, and the Cold War was really formative when I was a child, and that was a big moment for this world,
yeah,
and it was a big moment for especially for the Western world. So um, that would definitely be one that comes right at the top of head of all time. Um, I'd like to be standing outside the tomb when Jesus decides to wake up and walk out. I think that'd
yeah,
be a pretty good one.
yeah. That would be a good
I
one.
can consider myself. I actually have led a Bible study that I called the Doubting Thomases, because this never shuts off. So you're always battling thought and faith. I don't think I'd have any more of any of those thoughts if I watched that happen. With
Yeah.
taking that on faith. So
I did actually interview somebody that was there when the wall fell, and they said literally the color of the sky and everything changed when that wall came down, because it was always gloomy and bleak and bad on the east side, and it was literally just transformed immediately, and it was wild to
mhm.
hear the description and how that all played out. So the only other magnanimous one that I've ever heard was I asked somebody what sporting event they would love to have seen, and they said I would have loved to have been back at the 1980 Olympic game. And I was like, wait, you want to be back there? And he witnessed it. I was like, wow.
Wow, that would be a blast.
I mean, can you
I
imagine?
haven't been to any Olympics. I just watch them on TV every time, like everybody else does.
But you have to realize no matter how much we were like in favor, or people thought that we were on a roll, no one on the planet thought we were going to win that game. There's no
No.
way. No one thought that we would take the Russians down.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, that would have been the energy when that happened, just would have been unbelievable. So, um, so everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Today, I am a mostly patient man. Sometimes I get a little wound up. Um, I am first. I'm a husband. I take my relationship with my wife extremely important, and I'm working on that every day. I'd say that I'm a learner. Uh, I'm constantly trying to expand not just my skill set, but my knowledge base in a variety of different areas. And I'd say that um, I'm a teacher and a mentor to the people that I interact with. I always want to share what I have and bring somebody along with me. So those are probably my core attributes. Um, Outside of that, currently I'm kind of a fitness fanatic. I'm a new lover of all things boxing. I've taken up boxer size because I'm 46. Taking up boxing at 46 is a bad idea. Getting punched in the mouth, I don't heal as well. But all the exercise that comes from doing it, I'm just absolutely in love with. And I've fallen in love with watching the sport and following some of these young guys that are up and coming. It's mind blowing the amount of effort that it takes to get in shape to be a fighter. So
Maybe that would be an event to go to, is to see when Buster Douglas beat Tyson in Tokyo, you know,
mhm.
to feel the air go out of that place, because I'm sure everyone was in shock.
Yeah, it was. I've watched some of the videos of that, and it's exactly as you describe it. Pin drop, everybody's deflated. To see to see him fall from where he was, because at his peak, Mike Tyson was completely unbeatable.
Yeah.
He was training like a fighter that was trying to get the belt when he already had it.
Yeah.
He didn't back off like most champs. They back off a little bit and kind of enjoy the win. He trained like he'd never been there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's interesting. So let's say you have a dream tonight, you run into a 20-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life. What advice would you give that young version of you?
I would tell him that he needs to add the word perhaps to his vocabulary. Um, at 20 years old, I was like most 20-year-olds. Everything was black and white. It was good or it was bad. I knew it or I didn't. It was true or it was false. And you and I know that most truth in this world is on some kind of a sliding scale of gray. So I would tell myself that when I made a determination, add perhaps at the end, because I could be wrong. And it took me well into my 30s before I realized that a lot of the things that I held as core and dear uh, may not have been the whole story. Um, and that there's more life in the gray area between black and white that I know less and less as I get older. So
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
it happens. It's the semicolon. You can't just put a period because you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Maybe a dot,
They
dot,
don't
dot.
that, yeah, you don't know that when you're 20. At
Right.
20, you're gonna live forever and you got it all figured out now. So
Of course you do. So if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, reach out, anything about your world, how do they do that?
the easiest way is to go to my website. It's josephsingleton.me. So just my name and .me. If you want to learn about my business, head on over to HITEdigital.com. And you can find out all about us. You can get in contact either by submitting a form. There's a telephone number on both of those sites. And I actually have a calendar. I'd love to chat with people. My calendar on my josephsingleton.me leads directly to an appointment with me for a half hour, and we can talk about marketing. Usually with that, if we're gonna shoot the crap, let's do that by phone at a different time. But yeah, I love connecting with folks. So
Cool. Joseph, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your story and time.
thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And